And welcome to another Jersey Ducks News Versus. This week, I'm talking about Week 9 in the NFL. Can't believe it's already Week 9. Just like I said last week, just feels like yesterday. It was the Giants and Cowboys starting up the season. It's already Week 9. It's been a very good season with, only one undefeated team in the Atlanta Falcons and no winless teams. As there's a lot of parity this year in the NFL. And we got a few teams on byes. As the New England Patriots will be on a bye this week. Same as the New York Jets. Thank God we don't got to hear about Tim Tebow this week. The 49ers coming off a very impressive win over the Cardinals on Monday night. And the St. Louis Rams also on a bye. Should be interesting. But our first match of the week is the Kansas City Chiefs are traveling to San Diego, taking the Chargers on Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. Going into the season, I really believed a lot of high hopes in Kansas City Chiefs. I really thought they'd be a playoff team. And I don't think they would win the West, but I thought they'd be a wild card team. I really liked them. I thought Jamal Charles being back with that bounce back. I thought Matt Castle was underrated because I really thought he was a good quarterback, and their defense, a very solid defense. But all that is not true. As this year, it's just been an awful year from start to finish. The only team in the NFL not to have a lead during regular play. Their only win coming in OT against the Saints. Very, very disappointing year so far in Kansas City. It's going to get worse as, Matt Castle being pulled for Brady Quinn, but Brady Quinn looks hurt, so looks like he'll have to go back to Matt Castle. And this defense not performing at all. This defense, giving up big plays after big plays after big plays. And Jamal Charles, he's having a good year. Jamal Charles is having a Pro Bowl type year, but it's not being noticed because his team is god-awful. And this week they're playing a very desperate San Diego Chargers team who, let's face it, the last couple of weeks has not been well. San Diego Chargers, of course, blowing that big lead to the Broncos on Monday night, and of course last week, only going to Cleveland and could only put up 6 points against the Cleveland Browns. Very, very disappointing. And this goes to my point I've been saying for years that Philip Rivers is the most overrated guy in the NFL. Not a huge Philip Rivers fan. I really think the Chargers will continue to struggle. I think rest of the year. I really don't like the Chargers for the last half of the season. But they're playing Kansas City team who I said is god-awful. So I expect the Chargers to take this one. I think Philip Rivers will do enough to win this game. I think he'll make enough plays to win. I think Kansas City will come to play this week, but it's just clear Kansas City is just not that good. And so that's why I think the San Diego Chargers beat the Kansas City Chiefs by 2 scores. And our next matchup, this should be a good one. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to New York to take on, technically traveling to New Jersey, but taking on the New York Giants. Let's start with Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh, going in the year I had my doubts. And the start of the year, I still had my doubts when they did not have a good start. But the last couple of weeks, the Pittsburgh Steelers have come to play. The Pittsburgh Steelers are looking like a really, really, really good team right now. Big Ben, who is, for my money, we talked about Philip Rivers is the most overrated guy. Well, I think Big Ben's the most underrated guy in the NFL. I mean, this guy just makes big play after big play after big play. He's such a tough guy to take down, to tackle. Probably the toughest QB to tackle in the league. And he can extend plays because he's so hard to take down. So he can extend plays. Makes a lot of his plays outside the pocket. And I think, and the defense is playing well. Even without Troy Polamalu, the defense is really playing well this year. Well, they're going to play this team. They're going to play a team this week, and the New York Giants, who are playing out of this world right now. And I just think New York Giants might be the best team in the NFC right now. No offense to the Atlanta Falcons, them and the Atlanta Falcons probably the 2 best teams in the NFC right now. Because you got Eli Manning, who does have his critics, but he's playing at an MVP type level. He's got that 2 great weapons on the outside, or it's a Cruz more inside, but you got that great weapon outside of Knicks. Looks like it's come back this week, and a defense playing really well. I had a lot of my doubts about the Giants last couple of years just because their defense has been awful, but their defense is playing well right now. And I think the New York Giants might be the best team in the NFC, but they're playing a team in Pittsburgh who's playing really, really well right now. And I just gotta believe Big Ben knows how to go. He knows to beat Eli. I mean, he knows how to go in New York and win. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers take this one. I think it'll be a tight game, field goal type game, but I think the Steelers are just a little bit better than the Giants right now. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Giants. All right, our next matchup is the Sunday Nighter. as the Dallas Cowboys travel to the Georgia Dome to take on the Atlanta Falcons. We're 9 weeks through the season, and it's been an up and down year for the Dallas Cowboys. Start of the year, they're really looking to be a good team. I mean, beating the Giants on opening night, then kind of went a little tailspin, and then looked to be back and almost beating the Giants last week. So it's been kind of an up and down season for Dallas Cowboys. But this is still a talented team with a lot of talent through the board in this team. Tony Romo, not the most consistent QB in the league, but you still have other guys. Jones, a good running back. Got a few good receivers. Dez Bryant, who his hand wasn't outside the end zone last week, would have came away with that catch last week and would have won the game and beat the Giants last week. And a defense, DeMarcus Ware still getting it done, but besides that, their defensive backfield is just awful, giving up big plays after big plays. And it's going to hurt them this week because they're playing a team, the Atlanta Falcons, who seem to have still that chip on their shoulder because they don't get the respect around the league that maybe an undefeated team should be getting. Because usually when teams are about week 9, teams start talking about, can this team go undefeated? How good is this team in the history of the NFL? And it seems like for the Atlanta Falcons, I think everybody's just kind of waiting for them to lose. Because I don't think anybody really thinks that they're head and shoulders the best team in the NFL. Are they the best team in the NFL? Questionable. I think they're a really good team that could go to the Super Bowl. And I think this team is really coming together good because this offense is just so hard to stop, like I've been saying. And if they can get Michael Turner going, this offense will be unstoppable because you got the two great outside weapons in Julio Jones and Rodney White. Got inside with Tony Gonzalez. And also another great inside I like is also Harry Douglas. One hell of a receiver there. I think a very underrated receiver there. And they get Michael Turner going. That's the total package. It'll be tough to stop. And a defense who let's face it, they're not the 2000 Ravens or the 85 Bears back there. But this is a defense that just can get turnovers, can create turnovers, take balls back to the house, puts their offense in great position on the field. And that's why the Atlanta Falcons have been rolling this year. That's why the Atlanta Falcons are one of the best teams in the league because their defense plays well, their offense is great, and I think this will continue this week in prime time. Atlanta Falcons think will want to play well in prime time on the big stage on Sunday night. And I think the Atlanta Falcons beat down the Dallas Cowboys, win by 3 scores. And our next matchup, the disappointing team bowl, I'm going to call it, as the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And a little controversy after last week's game against the Atlanta Falcons, as Michael Vick did not play well. And he might be benched, as it looks like they might go with Folds, the backup rookie. Should be interesting because it's pretty clear that Andy Reid's job is on the line here, and if he benches Michael Vick, I think that's a huge mistake. Because let's be honest, has Michael Vick had a good year? No. Is it Michael Vick's fault? No. Because if you watch the film, it's pretty clear that this offensive line sucks. I mean, Michael Vick gets the ball, and 2 seconds later, there's somebody in his face trying to get sacked. If it wasn't anybody but Michael Vick back there, he would get sacked a lot more, and a lot more plays would break down. I think Michael Vick, in all intents and purposes, means how bad this offensive line has been. He's had a pretty good year. I mean, I don't see anyone back there and have a good year under that offensive line. Just a horrible offensive line. And for a team, I think, for the Philadelphia Eagles to be successful, I think they need to get back to running the football, something Andy Reid doesn't like to do. But I think that's the only way to be successful. For the Philadelphia Eagles to be successful, I think Shady McCoy, one of the best, if not the best running back in the NFL. Really like Shady. And I really think if they go with Foles, I think that'll be a big mistake. I think Vic should still have a few more games to prove because remember, he's still a veteran, still a guy who's been to an NFC Championship game. Still, and a couple years ago, was still one of the best quarterbacks in this league. But we'll see. But they're playing a team, New Orleans Saints, who, got off to that horrible start. And like I said last week, I just think that 0-4 start was just too big of a hole to dig themselves out of. And they won 2 games in a row, give them credit. But last week, they kind of came back down to earth again as losing to the Broncos. As it's pretty clear, this team is not bad because of the offense. Drew Brees is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. This offense is still up there with one of the top offenses in the league, but this defense can't stop anyone. That's just pretty clear. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. I mean, I just think This defense is probably the worst defense in the league, and that's what's going to hurt the 2012 New Orleans Saints this year is their defense. And it'll be interesting this week because you got the Philadelphia Eagles, desperate team, New Orleans Saints, desperate team. Both teams desperate for wins, and Philly still has a chance to win their division. I think New Orleans. It's gonna be uphill. It's gonna be uphill to win the South, I think, but maybe still shot at the playoffs. And if they get in the playoffs, there's nobody that wants to play the Saints in the playoffs. Absolutely no one. And I think this week it'll be the New Orleans Saints that beat the Philadelphia Eagles this week, as I think the Saints at home in Superdome, that crazy home field advantage they have, I think will be the difference in this one. And the Eagles do not travel well. Let's call for this. The Eagles do not travel well. And I think New Orleans Saints beat the Philadelphia Eagles this week by 3 scores. Our rest of the games this week. Arizona at Green Bay. I'll take Green Bay because Green Bay is playing great and Arizona's playing awful. Detroit at Jacksonville. I will take the Lions on the road. Lions playing well. They've won a couple games in a row and they look like they could possibly still make the playoffs. Chicago at Tennessee. I'll take Chicago. I'll take Chicago to keep rolling. They're one of the best defenses in the league. And this offense is starting to come together now. I'm really liking what I'm seeing in the Windy City. Denver at Cincinnati. Tough game. Tough game. But I will take the Bengals to bounce back off a bye. I'll take the Bengals this week over the Broncos. Carolina at Washington. When you say you down with RG3, you say you know me. That's why I will roll all day with the Washington Redskins. Baltimore at Cleveland. I'll take Baltimore to bounce back. Miami at the Colts. Tough game. Two teams very impressive this year, coming off losing seasons last year and are really playing well this year. But I will take the home field advantage. I'll take Andrew Luck and the Colts. Buffalo at Houston. Yeah, I'll take Houston. One of the best teams in the league against one of the worst teams in the league. Minnesota at Seattle. At home, I will take Seattle. And finally, Tampa Bay at Oakland. I'll go with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is playing well. They've really impressed me the last couple of weeks. And Tampa Bay's record could be a lot better than it is. And I really believe the Buccaneers are a team on the rise in the NFC. Well, remember to keep tracking my picks, as last week I went 10-4. So I'm bouncing back, having a few good weeks. Bring my overall record to 73-44. Pretty good. I'm starting to get away from all those losing weeks and starting to pile up a few winning weeks. And let's hope this week is as successful as the last few weeks. But till next time, I'm your Ducks saying I'm Ducks, and I know sports.